So hi, I'm Allie. I'm from Blain's Farm and Fleet. So we're going to jump right in, and I want to share a little bit about me and then a little bit about who Blain's is, and I'll get right into this campaign we did. So we can jump to the next slide. I can do that right here. Here I am. So like I said, Allie Blawat with Blain's Farm and Fleet. I've been in retail for almost 20 years, which is crazy to say out loud. But I started my career with Kohl's department stores and then spent a little bit of time with Harley Davidson, and I've been at Blain's for about 5 years. My team at Blain's, we manage all customer insights, research, and analytics, so we are really the voice of the customer team. And then we also drive the customer strategy for personalization, loyalty, acquisition, and retention. There's only 5 people on my team, so we're a pretty small group. Positionless is kind of the way we do things as well at Blain's. Blain's then, before we jump into that, let's start with something motivational. So this is something that I had in my slides a couple weeks ago, and I actually heard our chief HR officer say this even last week in front of all of our store managers. So this is something that we really live by, and hopefully a lot of you are familiar with this, but what it comes down to for me and within marketing and personalization, the storytelling, is around how you make people feel. And that's really what this campaign I'm going to talk to you about today is all about. So Blain's Farm and Fleet, it sounds like a traditional Midwest farm channel retailer, and we are certainly that, but also so much more. So 1955, Claude and Bert Blain, brothers, started our company. They were looking for ways to provide savings and discounts on regular items that farmers in rural Wisconsin needed. So things for their work, for their family, for their home, and the outdoors. They were starting this company at a time in retail where you couldn't just discount things to discount things. You had to have certain components in place in order to be able to discount, or it was considered illegal. You had to have a fleet, was something that they learned. Now, a fleet is part of our name, but it counts as 5 engines. So your car, your farm truck, your tractor, lawnmower, a boat, and anything really in between. All of those things would count. So if you had 5 engines as part of a fleet, you were able to get a discount. So we used that to really pioneer this idea of discounting through retail in the Midwest. Farm and Fleet has everything you would need from, well, the way I put it is there's animal food, so livestock feed for horses, chickens, goats, pigs, cows, rabbits even, to dog and cat as well, to people food. So we have a great candy aisle, amazing snacks, trail mixes, all the different kinds of nuts you might need. Baking is a huge thing for us going into the holidays, so you'll find all the different things you might need from an ingredient perspective and other pantry items as well. And then we have car food. So we have oil, chem, lube, tires, batteries, and really everything from that lifestyle of living in rural communities all the way to apparel, so women's, men's, kids, footwear, primarily outerwear, but we also carry some fashion brands like Ariat, Wrangler, Carhartt, so hopefully you're familiar with some of those, more Western style-y. And something that our customers like to say is, if you can't find it at Blain's Farm and Fleet, you probably don't need it. Speaking of our customers, now, I've heard this word multiple times yesterday, and I think I need to clarify here, but our customers are our neighbors. The speaker yesterday mentioned a book about bad neighbors and how do you live with them. That's not the kind of neighbor we have. Our mentality with our customers being our neighbors is more so your neighbor who you might ask for a cup of sugar, or your neighbor who walks over and offers up helping to clear your driveway in the wintertime. So really a helping hand. Our associates we treat like family. Our customers we treat like neighbors. And for us, that's really important, and it's embedded in our culture. Our neighbors, then, are kind of grouped into these 3 primary groups. We have 5 segments that fall into one of these 3. So we have our core customer, which is really our traditional farmer. So we're not Farm and Fleet for nothing, but these farmers have changed quite a bit over the last few decades. We've been around since 1955, where family farmers were our primary customer segment, their core group. This has evolved, especially since COVID, where we see a lot more hobby farmers and homesteaders. That's still our core, our bread and butter. Then, like probably most of you, we're all focusing on new acquisition. This customer group is primarily your like millennial and Gen Z groups, active families in the suburbs who are really aspiring for that country lifestyle, slowing down, enjoying outdoor recreation. And then aspirational dreamers who are just starting out in adulthood. Maybe they've just graduated from university or they're starting their first job. They recently purchased a home or they're in the market to. They're just starting to need Blain's Farm and Fleet. And then we have this aging group, which is incredibly important as well. That's where a lot of our spend is captured right now. But they're transitioning from this DIY, do-it-yourself mindset to this do-it-for-me mindset. They're starting to get out of wanting to be hands-on and do their own oil changes, and they'll come in for service instead. We really need to protect this group. There's a lot of generational loyalty here. And when I think about the relationship and the emotional loyalty, it shows up with this group. They talk about walking in the store and hearing baby chicks. That's one of their favorite memories from childhood. Or the intoxicating smell of rubber from the tires that we carry throughout the store. These things stick in their heads. So we did this campaign, and I'll go into detail, but take a look at the numbers. So first, what I want to preface with is we were not trying to drive revenue with this campaign. This campaign was intended to drive emotional loyalty right after Christmas. So retail in the United States, we're Midwest, it's very traditional. October through Christmas is all hands on deck Christmas shopping, gifts, baking, hosting, everything is around the holiday, and it is chaos. There are ads on top of ads, promos flying from every single retailer. This is a very busy time for our customer and a very busy time for retail in general. And we wanted to break through all that noise with this emotional connection that we thought would really drive engagement. What it ended up doing was also then driving revenue. So how did we make it happen? We did a year-end wrap. You probably have all received something recently. Spotify has been doing this for a long time. More and more retailers, restaurants, hospitality, they're starting to do these reflection-type campaigns. Our neighbors live these really busy, fast-moving lives throughout the year, and Blain's has been their go-to, or we're trying to establish ourselves as their go-to throughout the rest of the year, too. We want them to think about us in times that we're not the most natural choice. For us, that's kind of a Q1 period and a Q3 period. We are making hay in Q2. It's lawn and garden season. People are outside regularly, getting out into the sunshine and the warmth. They're thawing out. There's a lot of activities that they're going to do, and we are right there for them. But how do we think about that connection in that Q1 period and that Q3 period as well? Our objective with the year-end wrap was to really reinforce the nostalgia, the moments of truth that those customers experience throughout the year, and then to recognize their individual accomplishments through rewards and badges, and to really evoke those positive feelings and create that connection. So there was a few different components as part of this campaign. We developed personas. So I do want to shout out to the PS team, our professional services group that we worked with. Ann and Sophie and Dean were incredible. This was very heavily driven through data. So we looked at shopping behaviors, and I'll dive into that in a little bit more detail. How were these customers different from each other, and even different from our internal segmentation? That's something we're using from a marketing perspective and how to tailor our imagery, but that's not necessarily how a customer might identify themselves. So we really wanted to simplify these personas to make them a little bit more universal, but heavily informed through the data. We had to do awards, right? So people have done some really amazing behaviors with Blain's. They've chosen us for a lot of different things, and we really wanted to show up and show that acknowledgement for choosing us throughout the year. We had to create the messaging, and there's a lot. You'll see the email itself, and it's not a short little blip. There's a lot of components to the series of messages that we sent out. Everything from the persona to a thank you message, reminding people to use their gift cards, which is a pretty big purchase item for us from a gifting perspective. And again, this was right after Christmas, so we wanted to see those people again. There's a lot of components and pieces we had to build out. And we had to execute it. which of course takes a little bit of time too, and then measure, which you got to see the results at the beginning, but we'll go into that in a little bit more detail too. So our personas. First, we have the practical pet parent. With this group, it was a unique segment, one of the larger ones where they significantly over-indexed in dog and cat at Blain's. So we really wanted to identify them and acknowledge them for those repeat purchases for their furry friends. We have the hands-on homesteader. So this was a group that was over-indexing and purchasing things for lawn and garden, canning, other maker type of goods as well. Host and the Homemaker is more on like the home side, so they're purchasing things for entertaining, for hosting, things for soft home, blankets, candles, things to make their environment a little bit more welcoming. And then finally, one of our largest groups here was the mission-driven shopper. And this is one of our larger segments in general, people who are coming in for something very specific. So they might have a smaller basket, but it's very intentional. We do have a lot of these people who shop, and I mentioned earlier that Q2, Q4 period, a lot of them show up in those windows when they're coming for lawnmowers, snow blowers, Toyland, and things like that. The awards. So this is when it got really exciting. I'm going to go to the side so I can see these a little bit better. So we have customers who shop us the same store like it's their store, and they'll tell you that's my store. They might as well say Allie's Farm and Fleet on it because I am here so frequently. And the personalization in that building, you walk in and that neighbor says, "Hey, is Bob here today? He works back in Power Tools and he's my guy." And they will go and they'll find him and they'll have great conversation, good camaraderie, but they are store loyalty. So they've shopped that same store at least 5 times, if not more. Store traveler, so kind of the opposite here. And we have a lot of these customers too. These neighbors might have careers where they're driving across the Midwest. They might be spending time in northern Wisconsin, southern Illinois, Iowa, or Michigan, and they have shopped in 3 or more locations. We actually have at least 2 customers that have come forward and said, "I've been in every single one of your stores this year," and they are very proud of that fact. So that's our store traveler. Our loyal shopper has made 9 or more purchases across all of our channels, our e-com channel as well as any of our stores. Product loyalty, they've purchased the same item at least 3 times. A lot of this shows up in that agricultural product base or brand loyalty within pet. Aisle adventurer, they've purchased across 6 unique departments. So this is really encouraging people to cross the aisle when they get to see a badge like this. And then my favorite one, and I know we're not supposed to swear, but I refer to this one as the dedicated snacker. It's the Snackass Award. So you're going into the store, you're checking out, you're buying a drink or a candy bar, and 75% of your baskets or more. So you're buying something either at the front end, or you're going through our candy aisle and you're getting gummy bears or trail mixes or all kinds of things. So our dedicated snacker, people are very proud of this one too. So we used a lot of data to identify what type of awards we should be building out, and then we put this into the campaign using dynamic content. So here's that email. So there's quite a bit in here. So I'll kind of run you through the top to bottom. So we've got your recap, subject line, your wrap is in, unveil your badges inside. We really appreciate your loyalty. See what you've earned and celebrate with us. The middle piece there with the persona, I'll flip through and show you how those updated. Those were built out by target group. So there were 4 unique campaigns with 4 unique target groups, and then the rest of the email was either static content or dynamic. The badges were all dynamic. I have a great thank you message here, just really appreciating their loyalty. We have a gamified game in here too, which I'll show you some of the screenshots from here. This one had no incentive, just what do you know about Blain's? Gift cards, which is a big thing for us, and then we have to have some product, right? So we brought in some product recommendations through the OptiX personalized to show up, so they were very unique to each individual customer. And then, of course, right after the holidays is all retail, clearance, everything. So we tagged the end of the message with our clearance sale. So you can kind of see how the only thing that really changed was that primary persona, and then depending upon the badges you would have received. So you can kind of see that dynamic content. I wanted to feature some of the coding here, so we brought this in. You could have up to, I think it was 6 of the 7. Some of them were this or that, but you could have a combination. I, as an associate, am not the best customer to compare to, but I had 5 of the badges, and we kind of compared that internally as well. So there was a little bit of a leaderboard competition going on internally. Now that gamify game that we used here was trivia. So we made the entire campaign around the customer. What we really wanted to focus on was what the customer did to earn our acknowledgement and the loyalty, and we wanted to celebrate that. But we wanted to tie in, so we just celebrated our 70th anniversary of being a privately family-owned company, and we wanted to tie back some of the knowledge. So there's another competitor in the Midwest with a very similar name to us. In fact, many farm channel retailers have farm or fleet, barn, or something in their name, so it can get a little confusing. But we also have this heritage that we're so proud of, and we wanted our company insights to kind of make its way through to that customer message too. But we didn't want to just throw an incentive out there. I'm not going to give you a discount if you want to play the game. I just want to see if you want to play the game and if you're willing to learn more about this company that you've chosen to shop at. So no prizes, no leaderboard. Just the game and the questions. There was 5 of them, and I'll show you some of the results here in a moment. But what was very special is in the stores, we had customers walking in with their phones out. I got all 5 questions right. I got them all, just so you guys know. I know everything about Blain's Farm and Fleet. It's my farm and fleet. So we had the bragging rights that really nailed down that this was a pretty good strategy. We also asked for feedback. So we sought out customer feedback through a few different channels, social listening. We have an NPS, Medallia is our post-purchase survey platform to see if there were any issues, right? We got a little personal in here. How did people feel about it? Because we have some private customers who really do live off the grid. Many don't bring their phone with them into the store. Many don't even have a smartphone. They have a flip phone. They still give us their landline phone number because they don't want their information out there. So this was a little scary to see how they would react. And of hundreds of thousands of people, we had only 1 negative comment that said, "I buy a lot more than pet in your store." So they weren't quite happy with the way we bucketed them, and we could do a little bit more there. So I'll take that 1 negative feedback over all the positive. So how did it do? I mentioned this was not intended to drive revenue. We didn't expect it to drive a lot back to the site. You can see on the bottom, we do have a way into the website, so we hoped people would still shop from here. But this is also the week right after Christmas, and going into that holiday, we had several other campaigns going on, a lot of search campaigns going on as well. So we saw about 4% of site visitors came through the landing page here. Gameplay was about 60 seconds. So just to give you an idea of how long it took them to go through those questions, about a minute. And then their total session time on the site was a little over 2 times that. So they were spending a little bit more time on the website, less than a minute or so in the game, so not a ton of commitment from the customer who participated here. During this time period, email drove about 11% of total site visits, and the engagement is what we were really excited to see. So almost half of the clicks that were generated during this time were generated through this email campaign and through the game. So we're really proud to see that it did drive the engagement we were looking for, with no incentive, right? So just play the game if you want to play the game. And we did see a lot of duplicate people coming back through to play it again and again and again. Some of that, I think, was either to try to get them all right again or to brag and show that you knew all the facts and to give it to other people in your family. Now, to give you a comparison, because this might be very different for all of you, we did another game before Christmas, and this one was all deal-driven. So this one was around the 12 days of Christmas. So the 12 days leading up to Christmas, we had an advent calendar format that revealed 12 daily deals. So here, it was all to our loyalty customers, so rewards members only. You'd open your email, click through to the game, open the present, and it would reveal a deal for you. And that would take you directly to either a product assortment or that product page to purchase. So a game like this had the limited time offers. They were only 1 day only deals. So it's only good now, and then it's gone. It was a very fun and rewarding experience. We've done this campaign now for Father's Day. We've done it for Mother's Day. We do it for Christmas every year. I believe we're on our 4th or 5th year of doing this. This was the first time we leveraged something like this from an experience perspective, and the urgency and repeat traffic to the game was really incredible. So again, this is one format to get people to our e-commerce site. So about 7% of total site visitors compared to 4% on the trivia game, but 142 seconds for the game time. So they were spending a lot of time reading what's in the promo, going to that page. Some were coming back and doing that again and again throughout the day to finally make that purchase. Many of our customers are certainly omni-channel, so they're starting their experience and their journey digitally on their phone, making that purchase later in the store. So they'll pull it up while they're walking in. This is the deal I want, where is this product? And so there's a lot more engagement in something that was very specific, deal-driven with that urgency. About 24% of site visits came through the game. And this engagement was about 30% of the generation, or the clicks were generated through the email. So 43 for trivia, 30% here. So just to compare the baselines, very different strategies, but both really engaging. So for the year-end wrap, we saw almost the same uplift per campaign on average, or generated almost the same uplift per campaign on average throughout that whole month. So 80% more on the response rate for this particular campaign after all the promo-related messaging, the clearance-related messaging, any other personalization we had going on that was sort of happening at this time. This campaign did significantly better from a response perspective. Also, direct response rate was huge. And then that direct revenue, 28% increase on the direct revenue compared to these other campaigns that we're running. So for us, what all this kind of comes down to are the key fundamentals of how do we do something like this at scale and more frequently and in the right format. So we certainly learned a lot through the process. One, we started this, we kicked it off, the idea, I mentioned a wrap campaign multiple times to everyone, and we were talking about how we would do it. I got the PS team involved in end of October, and this went out at the end of December. So next time, we would like to maybe build out a little bit more time, is what the team said. Allie, can you maybe come up with ideas like 12-ish weeks in advance instead of 6 to 8? So we'll be working on that. The other piece that we are really inspired by is how do we bring more personalization into the game, whether that's through the prize or the questions, or even a bounce back that happens afterwards. So if you got all 5 questions in the trivia game correct, how do we respond to you a couple days later even? Real time would be great, but what's that long-term cadence of messaging? And how do we show up with the right types of prizes? So we don't want to just discount everything, especially in a period where everything's on clearance. So how do we motivate customers to get more response with more relevant prizes? And finally, with the badges, is how do we create some more visibility to these throughout the year? The customer didn't know that they were going to be awarded for these things until they received this campaign at the end of the year. How do we show them progress throughout or give them opportunities to unlock this capability? I was actually inspired listening to Ben earlier. I think this is going to be a really great way to do the mission-based trips and mission-based experiences through Gamify to unlock some of these potential throughout the year. So for us, personalization at scale is really done through those deeper connections. We are really honed in throughout the entire organization to treat our customers as neighbors, and we really want them to feel like they're part of the family. And in order to do that, we have to know who they are as a person. For us, that's how we define connections and personalization. So remember, well, people will never forget how you made them feel. And that is all I have to share with you today about Blain. Thank you.